Absolute chaos ensued on caucus night. Monday, of course, was the very first contest of the 2020 US presidential race in the Democratic primary. The Republican Party also had a caucus. Donald Trump won 97% of the vote, so that's all good. But on the Democrat side, it was absolute chaos that unfolded. To say it was drama was probably the understatement of the year. So the question is, how did it all go wrong? Well, as per usual, Democratic caucus goers headed to one of over 1,600 precincts in the state of Iowa, and they heard speeches from the candidates' surrogates and representatives. And once that was done, all of the caucus goers broke off into groups, standing by the candidate of their choice, and a head count was taken. Then there was a realignment so that candidates who didn't receive 15% of the votes would have the opportunity to get the support of other caucus goers to bring them to their corner. That vote tally was taken, and whoever came out on top would have won that caucus, and then you'd have all the state delegate equivalents counted up, which is the way that they measure who will win the most number of delegates, and that would determine who would win the Iowa caucuses as a whole. However, the crux of the problem here lies with an app that the precinct captains were meant to use in order to report results back to the Iowa Democratic Party. And according to the Iowa Democratic Party, a coding issue in the app meant that this failed to work. And somehow it wasn't tested beforehand, and even hours before the caucus was meant to happen, there were complaints that there were issues with this app. And so what captains had to do instead was call a hotline. But the problem with that was it was getting clogged up because there were so many people trying to get through to report their results back. I mean, there was even an issue where on CNN, there was a precinct captain on the phone to Wolf Blitzer, and he got so distracted with his telephone call that once he actually did end up getting through, he didn't end the interview with Wolf Blitzer. He didn't get on the phone straight away, and in the end, that call center worker in Iowa actually hung up. So after 2 hours of being on hold, the precinct captain ended up being cut off, which is just extraordinary and just sums up the absolute abysmalness of the night that took place. It was just honestly absolutely crazy. And so all of this meant that as the evening went on, zero results whatsoever were being reported. No projections were made on the night. In fact, we still do not have an official winner at this point. And it really, really goes to show how dysfunctional and disorganized this whole process is. So my plan this week was to come back with an episode on Tuesday morning, the day after the results, tell you who the winner is, break down what had happened. But I woke up on Tuesday morning at about 5 a.m, picked up my phone, and I was like, why is it empty? The lock screen was literally empty. Nothing was on there. And then I had to open Twitter, and it turns out the Iowa caucuses really were a mess. A lot of people were saying beforehand, because the rule changes in the Iowa caucus, that it was going to be a mess, but I never ever even contemplated that this is as bad as it was going to get. So by the end of the night, the candidates had given speeches. They took advantage of the vacuum in the media. Amy Klobuchar went first, Biden then followed. Buttigieg then claimed he was victorious, maybe a bit prematurely, but actually now, in terms of where we are, it does look like he's going to end up winning the most number of delegates. Bernie Sanders looks like he's going to get the popular vote, but more on that in a second. So the next day, on Tuesday, the chair of the Iowa Democratic Party, Troy Price, released 62% of the results. Buttigieg took an early lead with 27% of the state delegate equivalents. That's essentially the metric that's used to work out how many delegates each candidate will get. And with Buttigieg, what's interesting is that his share of the vote is quite evenly spread across the state. So he was able to win rural areas, urban areas, with older voters, younger voters, and he was really, really polling quite highly, especially in the areas where there's more delegates up for grabs, whereas someone like a Bernie Sanders, who was on 25% in second place, he did really, really well in college areas, college-educated areas, but struggled in others. And so that's why, even though he looks like he's going to win the popular vote, in terms of delegate count, he may fall just behind Buttigieg on that front. Warren came in third with 18%. When the results of 62% of precincts were counted, Biden languishing in fourth. Not a good look for him at all, especially when you look at his campaign being around electability. That was on Tuesday. As of yesterday, Friday the 7th of February, the Associated Press and American news networks are still yet to declare a winner of the Iowa caucuses because of some inaccuracies and errors in the reporting of some of the results. But this is the count with 100% of precincts reporting. We have Mayor Buttigieg on 26.2%, Bernie Sanders just a whisker behind him on 26.1%, so literally 1/10% difference between the top two candidates in terms of delegate count. Warren is at 18, Biden's at 15.8, Klobuchar on 12.3, and with this tight result, the chair of the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, Tom Perez, has called for a mandatory recount, or called a recanvassing of the results to try and see if he can resolve this tie between Bernie and Buttigieg. Now, the delegate count as it stands, if these results are to be taken as final, is as follows. Buttigieg will win 13 delegates, Bernie Sanders will win 12 delegates, Warren will be on 8, Biden on 6, and Klobuchar on 1. Remember, 41 delegates are up for grabs in the state of Iowa. All other candidates will be left empty-handed. And so I guess the question that you're asking me now is, Darsh, why does Iowa matter so much? You know, a candidate needs 1,990 delegates to be the nominee. There's only 41 up for grabs in Iowa. It's tiny. Why does Iowa matter so much? Well, the answer comes down to one word, really: momentum. Look, as I've said in the podcast before, candidates who do really well in these early voting states are going to have more momentum. More momentum means more money. More money means more ability to campaign and have TV ads on in the states on Super Tuesday, especially with California and Texas, two of the biggest states, very, very delegate rich. It's absolutely crucial to be shown that you can be winning now, and then when you get into Super Tuesday, when more delegates are going to be up for grabs, you're then going to be able to take advantage in states like that.